All right. All right, so I guess we're going to watch these videos, man. I don't really have any interest in this particular topic, but everybody's talking about it. So let's see what we got here.
Yeah. I'm going to shut up now. There you go. There's for your fucking news cycle. Now go twist all of that around. But just remember, there was women at the show. 4 hotties down front. Faces were not covered. Smoke shows down front. 8,000 citizens is what I performed in front of. And then I had the teachers looking at me while I did it.
All right, so this is Bill Burr sort of giving his take, his response to what everybody's saying about this Riyadh Comedy Festival. Featured Bobby Lee and guys like that. You know, Shane Gillis turned down the money. I think Tim Dillon turned down the money, or Tim Dillon went. I'm not sure. All I know is people are giving a lot of guff for this particular thing. I don't really know what to think about it. I watch the UFC, and I know that there's a lot of events that take place in a lot of places. And it's just weird to pick comedy as this thing. I suppose the fact that Bill Burr had already said that selling out for something like this would be one of the more ridiculous things to do, and then he went ahead and did it. You know, you could be mad. You could be mad at the hypocrisy, of course. But what's the difference between going over there and, you know, these comedians that are hanging out with billionaires? You know, you got Sam Talent that's spending 7 hours with Peter Thiel. Why? Hey, why though? That's the only thing that I ask. Why?
And I also connected in a country that had just been hit by 2 fucking missiles, 3 missiles, whatever the fuck it was. So, you know, so that's why I'm not answering your Just hang in there for a minute. And when the bots get everybody mad at something else, I'll answer any and all fucking questions.
Alright, so it looks like Bill Burr just responded terribly once again to the controversy surrounding his appearance at the Riyadh Comedy Festival in Saudi Arabia, effectively digging his grave even deeper than it was before. Because this week, instead of acknowledging the core issue that his fans had with him performing there in the first place, he actually just conveniently framed himself as the victim, centering his narrative around how he feels misrepresented in the situation, saying that,
you know, I do want to add here about this Rich Eisen guy. Okay, this is like a sportscaster fellow. I don't know too much about him. All I know is they're acting as if this is some sort of big time show, like it somehow benefits comedians to go on Rich Eisen's show. He's got sponsorships from Disney and shit like that. It's crazy. When you look at the numbers to some of these comedy podcasts in comparison to these Rich Eisens, these Amy Poehlers, they are not even scratching the surface, dude. When Amy Poehler can drop an episode with whoever, and within a handful of hours, she already has 300, 400,000 views, and Rogan's episodes will sit there for 2 or 3 days with 150,000, 250,000. It's kind of weird. It kind of shows what we're looking for. We're looking for the unbiased shit, man. Just be funny. And all these people are trying to not only be funny, but be celebrities, be rock stars, be relevant beyond relevance because of podcasting. It's just an odd thing. I mean, let's be honest, guys. We can all agree here that Joe Rogan and Tony Hinchcliffe both only got famous because of hosting a show. That's it. Joe Rogan got popular for being a host, and then they had to spin it as like he has some other secondary career. That's why he became a host. Oh, he's a comedian. When? Where? He started doing comedy after he was a host, not before. Not to any relevance. I mean, of course, there's going to be people in the comments that will argue this forever because, you know, YouTube is the home of, you know, Kill Tony and Joe Rogan and their weird-ass cult-like fans.
That people are going to spread straight up lies and make the whole thing worse than it actually was. And as you may have guessed, his fans found that to be extremely out of touch, because it tiptoes around what people are actually criticizing him for. Like, people are mad because a guy who built his reputation railing against corporate greed.
Look, this is exactly what I said, too. I said, obviously I didn't say it anywhere publicly, but out loud, in my head, whatever. I had said this. I was like, everybody talking about Bill Burr's response is only going to be exactly what we thought it was going to be. Yeah, Bill Burr's going to stand on it. He's going to stand on it. Obviously, this is going to get him traction, both positively and negatively, but he's going to try to spin it. Hey, there was women in the audience and the teachers, and instead of calling them what they were or whatever, he's going to spin it and try to make it all nicey, you know, add the soft outer layer so that way it's digestible for people that, you know, I don't even know what to call them, but for people.
Greed just took a fat paycheck from one of the most repressive regimes on Earth. Instead of addressing that, though, he's acting like it's all internet gossip and online outrage. So overall in this podcast, he sounds like a guy who knows he messed up, but can't bring himself to admit it.
Hey, what's going on? It's Bill Burr, and it's time for the Monday Morning Podcast for Monday, August 6, 2025. What's going on? How are ya? Oh, Jesus, how's it going in your neck of the woods there? It's not going so good in my neck of the woods. I'll tell you that. The sanctimonious is sanctimonian.
You also have to keep in mind the type of fans that Bill Burr has accumulated over the years. These aren't your average comedy fans. These are not too much different than what I would consider Kill Tony fans. Right? Just a lot of masochistic fuckers that, you know, hey, slap me around so I can feel something type of shit, right? And it's not to say that Bill isn't funny. Bill has figured out how to make that I'm an asshole personality humorous, right? Shane Gillis is very similar in that aspect, being that he's like a bro guy, but he's also like the bro who makes fun of you for wearing a collared shirt. Okay? It's not tragically different, okay? Bill Burr is certainly the top tier version of this. There's a lot of comedians that think that they are this, but Bill Burr has, again, been grandfathered in like an Anthony Jeselnik. He's a guy that has been doing this for so long, this style for so long, that it is expected. If Bill Burr is coming on your podcast, you're going to tighten up. You're going to tighten up. You're going to do things a little bit differently. But to think that he was going to somehow hear the criticism of taking this money and doing this show and somehow change, you're out of your fucking mind.
Key word on the Monian. Oh, Jesus. All right, here's the deal. You guys are asking me, obviously, a ton of questions about the absolute controversy, all right? Here's the deal. I have no problem answering any of them. The problem I have is after I answer them, it all gets clipped. And then once it gets clipped, then the lies start getting told, or they start shaping it and making it this and making it that. So all I'm doing is just throwing another log on the fire.
I hate this too. I hate that anybody who takes criticism or is criticized always assumes that it's only because of a clip. It's only because of a portion of a thing. You didn't do the proper research before you formed your opinion. And perhaps, yeah, about this Riyadh thing, I don't care too much to even have a formal opinion, but I will have an opinion on Bill Burr's reaction. Absolutely. Because I know Bill Burr's comedy, and I've seen him go through shit like this before and sort of respond similarly. Like, he can be such a critic of these people that are doing certain things on one side, but then he goes and does the exact same shit. He's a hypocrite. He's a sellout. He's a goddamn Hollywood star, okay? Let's be honest. These motherfuckers, they don't have a soul, and they never have, okay? If you're willing to even put yourself in a position to be a Hollywood person, you're desperate to be that type of person, you never had a soul to begin with, right? Let's be honest. You think Mr. Beast and Kai Cenat and IShowSpeed and all these fucking Chaos Eyes and those guys have hearts? No, what makes them any different than these people that are actually celebrities? Because there's talent involved? Sure, maybe. Maybe. You can make that argument, absolutely. I don't know, it's a weird thing for me, guys. This is my first attempt at doing this type of content without actually pre-writing a script and sitting here going through and looking at things. But it's true, there are so many people that are quick to form an opinion off of a clip, but I think there's more people that are genuine fans that would sit down and listen to an entire thing and form an opinion because of that. Sort of haphazardly, sort of accidentally, right? Like they didn't go into listening to an episode of Bill Burr and Theo Von to find that Bill Burr was kind of an asshole to Theo Von, right? Like you didn't do that. You were just hoping, hey, this is going to be fun. And then 40 minutes in, you're like, oh, Bill's actually kind of being a dickhead. Now I'm forming an opinion about Bill Burr because of said situation. So whether it's a clip or not, some people actually go out of their way, go back and check those clips, dude.
Fire. And then they can make more money. No, I'm sorry. Well, oh, no, because they care so much. That's right. Sorry, not because they're just making money. You know, but I do have to tell you, this is fact.
Well, it is another way to spin it, Bill. You get to spin it to people responding or making clips, or not making clips, making reaction, such as American Redact here making this. Yeah, you're going to get views. You're going to get clicks, you're going to get likes, you're going to get dislikes, you're going to get comments. Sure, you're going to get money. But that to me seems like a giant cop-out for bad behavior, poor choices. If your first response to making a poor choice is, oh, you're only saying that it's a poor choice because you can make money off of the content, is wild. Instead of accepting the fact that you might have... Why are so many people making reactions and commentating about this on YouTube, on social media, but yet everybody is somehow out of the loop? They're only doing it for the money. It's not an actual shot at your choices. Seems weird. So many people have the same thought. It must be them.
Fascinating, because I've never been in the middle of one of these fucking things. And my whole life when I watch the news, you know, not every fucking news stories, but there's been a lot of shit where you watch it going like, hey, I don't know, kind of seems like that kind of fucking... So to finally be in the middle of it, and the level of like straight up lies is just, it's wild. I'll be honest with you, I've been off the internet for like a fucking month, but just the people have been sending, it's funny, you get off the internet and people still send you shit. So like these stories of like there was no women there, he just performed to the Royals. By the time they're done with this shit, they're going to say I went over there and did a one-on-one show in a fucking tent staring at my toes. And then...
Well, I have to wonder, is it actually these people lying, or they're speculating because there's been no answers? Like, people are willing to throw stuff up in the air, throw stuff at the wall, I guess is better, you know, the better saying. They throw stuff at the wall to see if it sticks. And the only way that it sticks is if you respond, and that's what they find out. It won't stick if you respond, and that's not what happened. So him coming out and saying, oh, they're lying because they said this and this, it's like, no, they're not lying. They're speculating possibility. This is something that definitely could have happened. You could have been performing in front of a group of dudes in a palace. We don't fucking know. That's why people are speculating, and they're going to speculate the worst, because until you come forward, it's just beckoning you. They're just saying these things to pull you out, to say, hey, you need to respond. Here's where you should say something, because I'm speculating the worst. And until you say something, that's what everybody's going to think. You have to respond now. They force you to respond, and that's what this is.
And then I left for the head fucking guy, whoever the hell it is over there, right?
It's just so funny how he thinks, you know, just because there were women and civilians in that crowd, that it somehow makes the whole performance A-okay. I mean, surely he's smarter than that, no? The reason people are upset with Bill Burr is because he accepted money directly from the government there. The same regime that's known for executing journalists and criminalizing homosexuality. Like, this is a country where women only recently gained the right to drive, but still face arrest for what...
Look, my comparison was always to UFC and MMA and going over there. Now, I don't know the history of this shit. I don't know much of the country whatsoever. I know they got money. But I think the reason that comedy has been attacked so hard when it comes to doing this is due to the fact that it's an individual sport. Right? Like, you can attack the UFC for going over there, but that is hundreds of employees, hundreds of fighters. Who's going to respond? Who's got the time to even see you be mad? Right? Whereas Bill Burr going over there, Dave Chappelle going over there, Oh, you could reach out to them directly. You could tell them how bad of a person they are directly. Sure, you could pick a fighter specifically who's fought in Saudi Arabia or some shit, fucking talk shit to that guy, but also you have to understand, he's a fighter. He's not some guy who's telling jokes, right? So the threat level is obviously way smaller, and the courage is way greater to the person who can remain faceless and judgmental, but I think that's the problem. I think because of it being an individual sport in that way and not just a large company, like if they had said, like, All Things Comedy is performing in Riyadh at the Riyadh Festival, right? It wouldn't be as easy for these people to be targeted because it is a corporation, I guess, right? All Things Comedy consists of multiple comedians and multiple podcasts, shit like that, right? So them going over there and being involved is way different than saying, you know, Sam Morril. Like,
what they wear or for speaking out online. So when Burr gets on his podcast and shrugs it all off, telling us to relax because there were women there, is just beyond tone deaf and insulting. And fans are extra disappointed because Burr was supposed to be the everyman comic, the guy who stood up for normal people, roasted billionaires like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, and called out the powerful for exploiting everyone else. So to just throw that all away for $1.5 million to accept Saudi's...
Isn't that funny? That's what Bill Burr used to be. He was the everyman comic that used to call out all these bigwigs. And it's funny because that's what all comedy used to be. Everybody used to do that. Now, because of podcasting and money, everybody's willing to bend the knee for whatever narrative gets them the most traction, the most coin, whatever. And this goes back to my days being a fan of George Carlin. Still am, but I would seek out George Carlin material. Because I thought, this guy, not only is he funny, but he's thought-provoking. He's saying things that Dave Chappelle wishes he could. Right? George Carlin was unafraid. And there was nothing that they could do to stop him. I guess the internet culture obviously makes that a little bit more difficult for comedians today, but at the same time, it's like, what if you just don't have social media? Kind of makes it easier. I'm just not that big of a Dave Chappelle fan. Sorry, not sorry.
State money, directly or indirectly, just to do an hour of sanitized stand-up under censorship rules. It's the kind of move that completely undermines his persona.
Once again, I performed in an arena over there. In the round, there was 8,000 people at the show. Okay? It was citizens. And then they had diplomats sitting down front in a nerve-wracking way for the performer to make sure that, you know, you didn't talk about the 2 or 3 things that they said that they negotiated down to not talk about. Once again, as I said before, whoever put together the comedy festival and everything, what it did for freedom of speech over there, because, like, before it started, you couldn't talk about all of this stuff, and then they whittled it down to just that. And that is how, you know, if you truly care about stuff like that, you gradually move towards something more positive. All right? I mean...
Again, the guy had to spin it into something positive. And yeah, it could be. It could be. But we always knew that that's how Bill was going to spin it anyways. He was going to make it seem like he was doing it for a greater purpose, although months previously he was just bitching about comedians actually taking place and participating in things like this. Yet here he is, doing the exact same thing. Either way, guys, that's my video. I'm done. Thanks to American Redact for putting this stuff out. Thanks to all the channels that actually put this stuff out, because whether you like it or not, it is entertaining. I enjoy it. Subscribe to the channel. Like. But, until the next one.